The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
You're live.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for joining Armed Radio. I am your host, Jamie Lynn, and I'm super excited that I'm stuttering a little bit because it is Valentine's Day. The topic is love and sex and mindset. So once again, thank you, everybody, for joining Armed Radio. I am your host, Professor Jamie Lynn, and my guest joining us tonight is JC. JC, join in. Tell us a little bit about yourself as we get started.
What's up, everybody? I am JC Limitless. My real name is John Cerrone, but everybody knows me as JC Limitless. I'm a mindset coach, and my big thing is just mindset. I really push mindset for everything because everything begins and ends in your mind. So what better thing to get into? I just love it. I think it's something great that you can share with people of all ages, kids, adults, everybody. So I just think it's really something important that people overlook.
Right. And not only mindset, but love and sex. Our topic for tonight is no matter what age you are, those are very relevant topics for all of us, whether in our personal lives, our business lives, our spiritual lives, and regardless of demographics and age, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yeah, so I kind of I had some bullet points that I made up for tonight that we can kind of go over. I think this is a super important topic, not just for today because it's Valentine's Day, but this is something that it should be carrying every day, whether it's with your significant other, your wife or your husband, or just relationships in general. I don't know about the sex part, but, the love part, I think is very important that everybody understands that, because I think that's that's the running energy behind everything, that's what keeps everybody together, moving forward, and being positive and helping each other out. So those were kind of the idea of what I had for tonight.
Sweet. So I actually saw Deepak Chopra last night. And for those of you that don't know who he is, he's an amazing medical doctor. Most of the scientists, as well as many entrepreneurial magazines, have voted him the #1 medical doctor in the world. And he speaks a lot to love and mindset. And his speech last night, was phenomenal. And it talked about, obviously, mindset. But what is the mind, and are we of the mind? Is it okay if I speak a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. So, in different religious or spiritual orientations, you're going to have a different mindset, if you will, or a spiritual orientation. But what's happening in a lot of the scientific world when we're looking at humans and evolution of our mind and our brain is how do we separate that and understanding consciousness? And what does it mean to be mindful or conscious or having positive mindsets or negative mindsets, and then looking at scientific implications. So last night it was pretty amazing. He told us all about the medical, obviously, aspects to neurotransmitters in our mind and the aspects of how neurochemicals will fire more efficiently if we stay positive and optimistic and come from a place of love. And that scientifically, atoms and all of the elements within the periodic table, we're made up of the same thing of every, aspect of life on Earth within our own galaxy, as well as the trillions of galaxies they hypothesize exist, and that we're no different than stars, that the same chemical elements that are happening around us that keep our Earth and us together, we're all made up of the same thing. And so when he was talking about mindset, it was so powerful because he said, when we're taking in a breath here in Los Angeles, I was in Los Angeles last night, I'm in San Diego today, but that when we're breathing in air, and if our intention comes from love, that the people around the world can actually feel it. And that breath and the very oxygen and carbon that we take in recycles itself on the earth every 5 days. I thought that was crazy.
Wow. That's really interesting information. I didn't know all that. I'm a true believer of energy and how it's, obviously everything's made out of energy, but I just think it's contagious. You know what I mean? I feel like everywhere you go, anything you do, that's why my idea, one of my my big goals is like I want to impact hundreds of millions of people before my time's up here. And some people will look at it like, hey, I don't think that, that's even possible, but like if you were to take groups of people in certain areas, it would spread like cancer, just like negativity spreads, so does positivity. It's just the mindset or the outlook on it.
Dude, we're doing it right now. Like, I'm in LA. Are you in Chicago or Miami?
Chicago.
So you're in Chicago. I mean, talk about crazy and paradigm shifts and mindset, and people, if they said 100 years ago that me, this woman with all of my experience and background over here on the West Coast, which even just like less than 100 years ago was the gold rush, and people flocking over here would be literally live looking at, I can almost have a sense of feeling you, who you are, your spirit, and you're over there in Chicago, and here we are with thousands of people watching our Facebook, millions of people on the radio show. I mean, this is insane. This is pretty amazing.
It is. I just, the reach is ridiculous. I can't get enough of it. I even think of like the not just the energy, but like the psychology behind social media and how it all works. It's amazing what we can do today, Right.
I don't know for my listeners and for you, my professional background, is psychology. I've been practicing as a licensed marriage and family therapist for almost 2 decades. I know I look young, but I have been doing that for almost 20 years. I'm a certified behavior analyst. I did a PhD in psychology, went back to USC and did a second doctorate in global executive policy. And my whole mission in life is just to obviously change the world and look at being able to spread positive mindset and love for those of us that are struggling. I mean, so many people feel lonely and depressed and anxious, and we're addicted to drugs or addicted to work or addicted to the phone. And, my professional career, my personal career is just like you. I just want to share for everybody that's either hopeless or that's already good but wants to scale up and go to that next level, positive mindset and intention and how we can reach so many people. And I mean, it's pretty cool, right?
I love it. Yes, absolutely. I think there's like a couple different stages there, because I know that people, like some people might feel hopeless or some people might just believe, but like I think it's taken it to another step, like where you can create certainty for yourself, and it's based off things that I would say are proven, so it becomes a place of where you're knowing and everything is certain, and it's not just like in your business. I mean, it's everything in your life. It's with your significant loved other, or it's with your friends, your family. Like everything becomes more knowing and more certain, because when you come from a place like that, your confidence builds up and you begin to reach more and be more efficient in whatever your mission is in life, So I totally get it. I really want to push that people find that within them, because that's what empowers is within yourself.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm watching some of the comments come through, and people are saying like, we make a conscious decision not to celebrate a Valentine's Day. We've got people saying, thanks, love this. And then we've got some people like, this is too serious of a conversation. So fine, let's make it a little bit racier if that's what some of our guests want. And, so it's all about sex. I mean, we can switch to that and get it going a little bit about that.
No, we can definitely do that. I'll actually just kick this off with these 3 bullet points I got so we can kind of talk about that. The first point I want to make is like what we've been talking about is like mindset, but it's also the intention. I feel that, and I would like to know what you think about this. So I feel that a lot of us have the wrong understanding of what relationships are supposed to be. I feel that people are in relationships really early. People aren't valuing like a marriage, all of these different things. So I think what it boils down to is there could be some pretty crazy one night stands that there might be something fired up over there, but in the end, playing the long game, I don't think that that's something that anybody truly wants. We're just settling for in the moment. We're settling for something that came. So I think the intention is the first thing. Understanding your intention, understanding what it is to be with somebody and actually love somebody, and build from there. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we could talk about this for a while. So let's break it down. So intention for sure. Let's talk about our younger demographics and population. I've, counseled many youth. I've been a youth. I have kids that are youth. So our intention during developmental periods of high school are going to vary, as well as male versus female. So what if we start there? Let's look at male versus female intention on love and sex when you're of the younger generation. And then we can move up, because I think that shifts over time, or for some females it doesn't. So I'll kick that off. When I was in high school, many know my story. I was raised by 2 gay women and my dad. So I had this crazy, eye-opening experience trying to understand what is sex, how does sex work, because from my youngest age, I just knew I had a mom that was with a woman and a stepmom that was amazing, and that was all I knew. So when I would go to school and people would tease me, my last name, is Melillo, my nickname was Madildo. People would, make comments like carpet muncher and, like, oh, you like women too, you're a dyke, you're this, you're that. I'm kind of going off, but for my story as a youth, trying to understand what is sex. And then I've got my dad who's married, his third marriage was to a woman 25 years younger than him. So then it was like, I was getting it like, your dad's a child molester, like your dad's 46 and his wife's 21. Like, how can a 21-year-old? So my idea and my story of what sex was like, starting when I started to feel sexual feelings was a lot different than other people, but I still think it's a great story to tell because it speaks to everybody. I'm sure everybody watching, when they hit 11, 12 years old as a woman, we experience, okay, what does this feel like? And oh my God, that guy's hot, or that guy, back in our day, like it was freak. That guy's freaky. He's a freak. And then these thoughts pop into your head, and your parents back in the 80s and 90s weren't talking to us, like, other than the sex ed, which was like the penis goes in the vagina and use a condom because you're going to get an STD and die, or if you get pregnant, your whole life is ruined. We had all of these concepts that were being taught to us. And here I'm like, wait, do I like women? Do I like men? What is going on? So, and for me as a woman, and then you've got religious and you've got spirituality in looking at, is it okay to have premarital sex? The 80s and 90s started to have a paradigm shift between it was okay to be sexually promiscuous, or it was becoming more acceptable, or divorce was even on the rise. My grandmother's era and your grandmother's era was like divorce was taboo. You had sex with one person, you married one person, and that was it. So, I kind of said a mouthful. But I know from a female perspective, I always ultimately ending this story was, I really wanted one guy. Like, I wanted to fall in love and have one guy. And I don't think that was taught to me environmentally. Obviously, the point of my story, what my upbringing looked like. But I really wanted that. And I had dated the same guy I met in 7th grade, and we dated all the way through high school. He went to the Marines. He asked me to marry him. I told him no. We're still good friends. But I think many females, part of my era, was okay with, like, we wanted one guy. We wanted the boyfriend. We wanted to feel in love. We wanted to lose our virginity. The era now with my 18 and 17-year-old, totally different. So that's my story. I'll let you talk now.
No. I think that's great. I myself, ever since I got, into, psychology and, reading about psychology and human behavior, I took that as it was a blessing, and at the same time a curse, because I break everything down, and when I think about it, I'm always trying to get to the root. And when we're talking about this, guys in high school and stuff like that, I think at that point, it's kind of it's almost like a game, or it's almost like chasing your manly potential. You know what I mean? Trying to figure out what this is about. None of us knew anything about what was going on, but we acted like we did. And we're running around, rooting around, like cavemen. You know what I mean? So, it was kind of different. But, I think about it, because I always think about the future. I think about, what's going to happen to the kids coming up. I've got a 5-year-old son. What's it going to be like when he gets to that stage? And can all the nonsense be squashed before it gets there? Because there's a lot going on in that situation, more than what it looks like, and I think that, I just think the social conditioning aspect of it is kind of crazy, because everyone's got different backgrounds. got different religions. Everyone's got different upbringings. Everyone's got their story. Like, there's so much going on, and I think that, like, I'm just being real. Like, I mean, 20 years ago, if you had asked me these questions, I would not answer them the same. But I just feel like, you know, we got to do something about it, you know, because, like, I feel like it's just progressively evolving into something that's out of control, you know, and I think that, like, in my mind, I feel that there's a lot of people that are, you know, maybe having children, like, one after another. They got different fathers, and they've got so many, and they're not taking care of them, and it's just a wreck. And I think it all started from, like, stuff in school. And, I mean, not in school, but I mean, like, that idea, like, when, like, we weren't taught anything. Nobody taught us, like, what it's about. You know, I really break things down, and this might be kind of weird for what we're talking about right now, but I think about, like, reproduction in the world and, like, what it was meant to be and, like, how should it be, and how could you get the most out of it? Because I'm always looking to get the most potential out of every human being I come across. You know, and I feel like if more things were intentional or deliberate, that we would have a lot better world to be living in right now. You know, and I mean, I might have went way off on this, but I'm just being real. You know, like, I feel like I feel like the love thing and, like, who you're a partner with and who you have sex with and, like, the life that you build is way more valuable than what we give it credit to. And I feel like I don't know, I just feel like we got to do something about it. I'm just not happy with what I see. And I know that there's potential for us to be better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Somebody commented too about humans reason out their instincts, and we've forgotten what it means to be in the garden. So I hear what you're saying, and if you go back and look at civilization and humans overall and evolution, even pre-religious concepts, you know, you have obviously, like, Greek mythology, and then you have the zodiac, the astrology that then led into Jesus Christ, JC, no pun intended, but, you know, I had to tease you at one point. So, yeah, I mean, we were roaming the earth, right? And we just, maybe like dogs or other mammals, you just have sex. You see something, you want the chemicals in our bodies to reproduce. And where did love, where did emotional connection come in? Where did consciousness, mindfulness, coming full circle back to the intention of, when does sex now equate to love? That if I get naked with you and we have this engagement and it's sexual, where does the switch happen that I need to stay with you for the rest of my life, or I need to just fill this out and see where it goes and then on to the next? I mean, I read somewhere, I don't know statistically, but now the average person has over 100 partners. You know, depending on if you were born in the millennial age, that, you know, by the time you're 40, you'll have had over almost 100 partners. So how does that translate into prior, when we were nomads and Neanderthals and we were running around and just impregnating? You were impregnating, like you said, like a Neanderthal in high school, just running around seeing how much what you can get. Making a game out of it. I mean, is that what they were doing, you know, 2000 pre-JC and 2000 years now? Here we are in 2018. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think that it just goes hand in hand with what I was saying. You know, like, there's no value to it today. Like, if you were to ask that same question to anybody maybe from 15 to maybe 22, 25 years old, what makes this love? Like, what makes this relationship that we have, that we're together, that I want to be with you? What makes this love? Like, they won't find that until it actually hits them like a ton of bricks, because there was no awareness to it. And I think that, like, 2,000 years before JC and then 2,000 years after JC, I feel like that's 4,000 years of education, learning, consciousness, awareness. Like, there's, like, no excuse or reason for not making, like, a conscious decision on purpose, being deliberate, and creating something amazing out of that. You know, like, there's actually one of my posts that I put on my Facebook today was create something limitless. And I had, you know, my son in my hands. You know, like, I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it's very irresponsible of, like, some of the stuff that we're doing today, knowing what we know today, with all the technology and all the knowledge and everything that we have. I feel like we're just not on the right track with it. I just truly feel like that.
So is what what you're saying is your opinion is, and we can talk about this. So now come into the 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. We kind of finished talking about the high schooler kids, right? And our generation, and I really do think the current generation has changed. I have an 18-year-old daughter. God bless her. She's been with the same guy. But her friends and a lot of her friends, sexual promiscuity is like, ooh, like, especially for women now, women are acting like men. And when we do look at statistically the evolution of even affairs and cheating, women, we're closely behind you guys now with women entering the workplace of staying faithful versus, loyal to our spouses. It's about a third of men and women now cheat on their married partner. But looking at high school kids and sexual promiscuity, women now are becoming more in their power. Like, bro, I can have sex just like you can have sex, and you're seeing that in the younger generation. We could, I don't want to get too far off, but like pro-life versus, pro-choice and seeing the abortion rates versus the keeping a child rate. But moving forward and looking at sex and what does sex mean and how does the mindset and the love and the intention ultimately cultivate in what we call love, our generation. Like I'm 40. I am a single mother of 4. I'm not going to share too much about myself. I mean, I have to professionally still, I treat children. I do a lot of consulting for businesses, but I could speak about girlfriends that are single in my age is that, we're not staying faithful to one guy. We're dating around. And of course, many of us are looking for maybe a partner or not a partner. A lot of my girlfriends, especially that more educated and the more financially secure we get, I've been to 22 countries, 6 continents, and I do what I want when I want. And a lot of women are feeling that way at my age, and they're not getting married, and they're being sexually promiscuous and finding their way around. So we have that, and then I think we're seeing a fallen number of women getting married and staying with one man and making that their life. So
yeah, no, and like the thing is like, so let me ask you what you think about this. So, this is interesting. I feel like it's one thing to, I don't think that anybody, like everybody's idea of like maybe I would say like the American dream is like, dude, by 22, like I'm locked down, I got somebody to be with, we're gonna be together. Like my dream is like, to share our 67th, anniversary together. Like I just think that that's ridiculous. I'm just gonna say that. I feel like you haven't experienced anything about life, and I love the idea of what you're talking about. Like you should be traveling. There's an entire planet out here to go out here and find what it is that you're looking for. Now, what are your thoughts on? Because I have my own thoughts on this, but what you're saying with going out being promiscuous and looking for what you're looking for. This maybe just like a guy thing. I don't know, but I think it's one thing to be involved with people and find what you're looking for, and I think it's another thing to be completely irresponsible and you're making kids along the way of doing this.
Right.
What is your thoughts on that?
Wow, that's a lot. I had so many thoughts where you were talking. I was like, what do I say first? Foremost, I want to acknowledge some of our viewers are commenting, that they've been with their partner since they were 16 or they've been with their partner since they were 27. So I just want to give some facts for those that are listening. The most solid research we have comes out of University of Denver, Colorado, and it's the Gottmans. They're a group of psychologists. Hey, are Gottmans a husband and wife?
What?
The Gottmans, are they husband and wife?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I was clarifying with my clinical psychologist business partner over there. He's more the expert on marriage counseling. I've always been the post-traumatic stress disorder, autism, and sex therapist. Weird specialties, but that's who I am. So anyway, the facts, going back to the facts, the truth is that the relationships that are successful and highly report satisfaction for lifetime partners is less than 10%. So if you take the totality of all of us and we say that our marriage has been better than a C average, so, out of a scale of 0 to 10, we would say 7 out of 10. it's less than 10% of the population. They say that they're best friends with their partner. They have great sex. They're respectful, and that is a blessing. So for our viewers that have said that they have that, dude, amazing for you, but you are in the minority. Most marriages either have one or the other. They have like massive passion, so lots of sexual chemistry, attractability, but they fight all the time. And so it's kind of like this roller coaster of drama, because a lot of those foundations are based off of sex and desire and people enjoying the drama and being in the drama triangle. And then going
back to the intention that we talked about earlier.
Yeah. And then the other is friendship. You know, that was my marriage. I speak a lot openly about my marriage. I was married for 14 years. I have 4 children with the same man. He was an LAPD officer. I was there for friendship. I was there because I got pregnant. I was on birth control. I was young, and I am pro-life. And so I made my bed and I lied in it. I mean, my dad being Italian was like, you made your bed, you lie in it. You know, so it was the 90s. I was like, cool. But, you know, off the topic of my story is I had the friendship marriage, and it ended badly when I tried to leave. And you'll see that certain types of relationships go through that, either being very, you know, they're friends and they have a friend connection. So they stay a lot of times financial. We stay married for financial incentives. We stay married for the kids. You don't want the kids hurt. But then you have the other one where it's like banging sex, you know, it's like real good. But then you're like crazy jealous. Like, why are you looking at her? You know, who are you home? You know, and then there's the cheating, and back to adding in those statistics of there's a third of the population that are cheating on each other. So that's kind of the truth of the matter in the science world on love and sex. So I'll let you take the lead now.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's exactly why I was saying that everything should be so deliberate. Like, everything should be well thought out. Everything should be on purpose, because all of these things come into play, you know, and I'm in another group here on Facebook, and like a couple actually went live and was explaining like how their relationship is just awesome all the time. Like, they see people talk about arguing and fighting all the time, and they're like, can't even relate to that. Like, we don't even get it, you know. Like, we get upset with each other, or an argument like might want to spark, but in that moment it just stops, you know. Like, maybe he'll say something or look at it a funny way, and they just kill it, and they move on. And it's because their intention, their purpose behind it, so much more than anything that was about to come out of their mouths. Mm-hmm. So in that moment, that like they found something that works together. Now, I mean, there's so many variables that play into these. I mean, I don't think that there's always going to be a fairy tale ending, but I think what it comes down to is like compromising and understanding and being there for each other, which then, you know, I mean, like, obviously there's the sex part of it, and I think that, like, that is like the it's kind of like watching motivational videos to get you going for the day, you know, like, that's that fire, that's that fuel, that's the thing that's like, it just makes it that much more better, you know. Like, there's obviously like the physical connection, there's the emotional connection, there's the mental connection, like, there's so many things going on, and like, in that moment, like, it's freaking magic, you know what I mean? So there's just a lot of stuff going on. I totally understand where you're coming from with it, and that's why I really broke this down and thought about it, you know. Like, I wish there was a way that I could get this message out to parents and schools and wherever I could, that, like, stop being politically correct, stop like hiding behind like titles and like weird things and like offending people. Like, let's get real and let's talk about it, and let's educate these kids coming up, so that way they can have a better life experience with them, for themselves and with their partner.
Right.
You know, does that make sense?
Totally. I mean, I think what we're talking about is communication. So learning how to communicate when you're in a loving relationship, or if you're in a business relationship, you know, being entrepreneurial, or being in a successful marriage, dating, your friendships. So I think having that type of integrity and communication style is important, and you'll see that transcend, obviously, when you're trying to find love, or, you know, if you're seeking into intimate relationships. So I think that's far and few between when we look at the statistics I shared on the types of marriages, the types of relationships, and those percentages. I think you'll see that overlap transcends into other arenas that we're talking about. So in our workplace, in our personal lives, within our friendships, in our social clubs, in, you know, our habits, our skills, our hobby sets that we do. And then we can even talk about the drugs and alcohol, you know, and looking at love and relationships and how does love and relationships in any particular interaction occur when we're doing drugs and alcohol, which is also on the rise. So much more accessible. And here in California with the legalization of marijuana. And I mean, dude, we smell it everywhere. We've been on the freeway because we've been traveling all around the West Coast. Like we were in Nevada, we were in Arizona. I was in LA just a few hours ago. I'm in San Diego today. Like we've been Snapchatting it and like guys just blunting it up right in front of us, getting on the freeway. I'm like, what's that smell? I go, you see it coming out of the windows, you know? So, but I think communication is huge when you're looking at, you know, love and even sex. So going back to the topic at hand, you know, and talking about sex is how do you communicate when you're in a dating relationship or wanting to date? How do you convey, look, you know, the 3-date rule, I'll have sex with you after 3 dates, or the research. Here's another interesting fact. Is it 7 hours, Dr. Kuvi? I think it's 7 hours exact. I always verify my stats with my boy over there.
What's up, yo?
Yo, come say hi. So after 7 hours of dating, a woman will sleep with a man. So for everybody watching that wants to get laid, schedule a long date.
Hello.
Hi.
What's up, everybody?
This is my
Very
partner,
good.
Dr. Kuvi, Professor Al.
Yeah.
Is it 7 hours?
Yeah, 7 hours is the average
Yeah.
that a
That's
woman.
average?
Yeah, the American woman is almost 7 hours, so you can sleep with them.
Dude, I have a total bizarre ADHD side note. So as soon as I said Dr. Kuvi, Professor Al,
Baby, they're saying
They
I did after
they
2
literally
days.
popped him up. That's scary because of the artificial intelligence that's in these algorithms. So I just had to throw out the side note because I am so mad at Facebook's algorithms right now. Like my colleagues and I, we've all been talking about it in the digital space. Like I get some 8 to 10,000 views on my video. Not anymore. It's like 8 to 10. I'm like, what is going on with these algorithms? But that's scary that Facebook picked up my auditory and tagged him in it.
Wow, that is crazy. It tagged him?
Yeah, just you saw it pull up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. That's crazy.
yeah, it's
But
nuts.
7 hours, like, I think that guy's slacking.
Hey, so we got him. Let's talk about love and relationships.
You wanna
So
talk about
I want
love?
to tell his story really quick. So this is an amazing man. We met about like 4 months ago, not too long ago, but he feels like my little brother now. So we met at Thrive with Cole Hatter. I was there, you know, we talked about Chris Record and Cole Hatter and Kevin Harrington and Grant Cardone and those guys. If anybody hasn't been to a Thrive event, they're insane. And obviously Ty Lopez, we also met at a Ty Lopez event, but he's got a cool story. Do you want to tell it or you want me to keep going?
Yeah, you can keep going.
Okay. So he's from Ecuador. He's a clinical psychologist, and he serendipitously, we met at, well, we didn't really actually meet. I think we saw each other at Thrive in Vegas. We were all at the Vegas shooting together. Some other guys that he was friends with, and ended up the next weekend was Ty's event, Ty Lopez down in Santa Monica. So I get up, and of course, I love to engage in friendly debate with Ty Lopez about psychology and behavioralism and my area of expertise. And you know, it was in the Diamond, the VIP section. And so he's like across the room, and you say like, oh my God, I need to meet her. I have to talk to her.
Yeah, I saw this blonde girl discussing with Ty Lopez, and I was like, oh, this girl is on fire. And she says like a psychologist. And I was trying to look for her after that, but it was too crowded. I couldn't.
Making noise on the
And then like 2 weeks later we met
in Newport Beach.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of, you know, consulting for businesses and help people scale and ghostwriting and lead gen and things like that. And he walks up, and there I am sitting with another marketing company who I do operations for. And he's like, oh my God, it's the blonde psychologist. Like, I've been looking for you. So anyway, he ended up hiring us, but I loved him so much, I made him a business partner.
That's awesome.
So now he's been staying with us. We've been traveling all around, and we have a really cool book out called, excuse my language to all my parent followers in the autism space, but here it goes. What's it called?
Fuck.
I Need Viagra. Totally amazing book. So it's called Fuck I Need Viagra. We have a whole series. Fuck I Need Viagra. Fuck I'm still single. Fuck I'm online dating. Fuck I'm divorced.
I love it.
And it's a whole series line that we're working with another friend of mine who's also, we're in business together, and doing a whole comical series. So we've hired this comic book company that's going to do the graphics for us. And then obviously it'll serve as, we have a show, The Doctor's Opinion, and being able to help other people in the psychology arena through, business ventures and looking at content and being able to help anybody that's in that space. But that's kind of the name of our branding.
I love it. I think it's like marketing genius. Right? I mean, they're going to check it out. I'm going to go check it out.
Well, thank you. You think I'm a genius, right?
Yeah, she's a genius. She's a genius.
Is that because I'm certified in tantric sex?
That's a good point.
No, we have 0 sexual relations together just for the pre-disclosure.
No, we just get we just get around like brothers.
Like brothers?
Yeah, brothers.
It's brothers and sisters.
Brothers and sisters, yeah. My Ecuadorian accent is coming up now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So anyway, back to love and his story. So can I share a little of your personal story? No, damn it.
We'll have to do a long show about that.
Okay.
But I can tell you something else. One of my goals in my trip was visiting the top psychologists of the world.
Oh, yeah.
And especially the guys that were experts in the couples area, marriage area. So I met the Gottmans, I met Sue Johnson, I met Dan Weil, and I met Harvey Hendricks. Those are considered like
Dr. Amen.
Yeah, Dr. Amen, like the top of the line in the psychology world, but also in the couples area. And I asked them, how do you choose the right person? Because I saw in a study, I don't know if it was from Stanford or from Harvard or but it was from a really high-end university. So they say that the biggest regret in life for people is not choosing the wrong career, is not choosing the wrong education, is choosing the wrong person. Because when you choose the wrong person, you get all these troubles like divorce, lawyers,
bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy,
loss of children.
Yeah,
crazy.
So
I completely agree with that. Like, I mean, that's in your immediate circle, and that's gonna affect everything around you. I mean, again, going back to that intention of doing things deliberately, there's so much to that.
You know what else I thought of too is when we're going back to our topic for the show tonight is sex is viewed differently in South America. It's viewed differently in Mexico. It's viewed differently in Asia. It's viewed differently. So it's not only age demographics, but location and nationality. So I think in your country, it's still pretty common that a woman doesn't sleep around, right? She tries to save herself.
Well, that's what they say. But it's just more people try to hide it, but I see it's a common in around the world. Like sex it's common. And
so we lie. Is that what you're saying? Humans lie?
Yeah, and that's part of the research of Esther Perel. She has been writing books about affairs and relationships and about how do you say in English, monogamy? Monogamous relationships. So she's trying to put all of these like myths, like it's not real, it's a taboo. So we can talk about monogamous, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not the rule. Like it's not the most common thing. People have affairs. People have a lot of sex before marriage. So let's not talk about wishful thinking. Let's talk about reality.
Which is so true, dude. Like, we're just completely unhonest or dishonest as a human species. We cover up, like, what's truly happening in so many different arenas. The facade, whether it is love or sex or finances or drugs and alcohol, infidelity, domestic violence. I mean, all of these topics are so true. If we were just honest, if we could just talk about it and put everything out there, right?
Yeah, that's true. And that's what the answer of these psychologists that are experts in the couple and relationships area, they gave me different answers, but the common one was being authentic. Like, just adapt and put yourself out. And once you put yourself out, you can filter who accepts you and who doesn't accept your style. You don't have to be with someone that doesn't accept your style. You just be around with people that you can be yourself. And you have this sense of ease and that you're belonging there instead of feeling uncomfortable or just like pushing too much. So that was the basic answer of all of them.
What do you think about that, JC?
That makes sense. You know, like I think about all of that, and like what's going to boil down to is like people are going to be getting it in, man. Like they're going to figure out some way to go get it in, like one way or another. You know, like I mean, think about it, like religions and cultures and books and like everything in the world is all man-made. They're a belief that somebody came up with, and then the society said, "Yo, like I'm going to ride with this together. Like this is our belief, and this is what we do." But I truly feel like all of us individuals, going back to everything is energy, we're all energy, like we have all of this running inside us, like our natural state as a human being is telling us like, I'm drawn to this person, I'm attracted to this person. My culture tells me, no, don't do this. My religion tells me, no, don't do this. But my body is telling me, my mind, myself is telling me, go, go, go. And they're going to go, you know, and I think it just causes a lot of confusion. That's where all the nonsense comes from like all these relationships, man. Like nobody knows how to use their true self, you know. And in the end, everybody's getting it in, man. Like everybody's out here like doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But I mean, is it crazy or is it people like following their true sense? You know, I think it's there's a lot. I mean, I think we could break this down for like days. I don't know.
I mean, hey, they have graduate courses on it.
Yeah.
You know.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, even just myself having been a sex therapist for 15 years, we have, you know, tons of certification programs and higher education sources because it's so diversified and human nature and human psychology could be dealt with in so many different facets.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So like, what would you say is like, how could you paint like your mind? Like, how could you paint the perfect picture? Like, what would that look like? I mean, like, as far as like, you know, a couple, a relationship, like the sex part of it, the life part of it, the experience part of it, the growth part of it. Like, what does that look like to you?
I think it looks like to me is loving yourself. If we can start with loving ourselves and being able to do that, then we'll be able to love somebody else. But loving ourselves for many of us is a complicated lifelong journey. And looking at how do we love ourselves in a complex world from so many different demographics and impedances with humans being impulsive. So on our way from LA to San Diego today, we were talking about, you know, functions of human behavior. I'm a certified behavior analyst, and when you're a psychologist or you're a clinician, we have different specialties, and he didn't know much about it. So I was teaching him a little bit on the way over is the human behavior for us to seek what we want, you know, take what we want. And then when we do that, this is how rape and molestation or physical abuse or psychological breaking children down, that these things that are so, for whatever reason in us as humans, then translates into us not being able to love ourselves. Even in school, I mean, you can have a typical childhood, an amazing set of parents, but then you go to a public school system that is making you feel, or you're choosing to feel, whatever language you want to pick, that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, that person's better than me, that person's faster than me, I didn't get picked on the team. So we're developing all of these thoughts and emotions and behavior that are just out of being in love with ourself, loving who I am, because if we can get that, then I'll love you, I'll love my coworker, I'll love my boss, I'll love my employees, I'll love any partner, any human in the grocery store I run into. And then, I mean, now I'm just getting on a humanitarian global tangent, but anyway.
It's true, though. I mean, it's real.
Sorry. I don't know. Back at you, bro. Like, what is your solution to this?
I don't think there's actually like one solution. You know what I mean? Like, I totally agree with what you're saying. You know, it all starts with you. It starts with you as an individual. Like, if you can't love yourself, like, go back to bed and figure it out before you come out to the world and like bring your cancer and negativity and garbage with you to spread to everybody else. You know, it's just, it all starts with you. Like, with anything that you're doing, it's just, you got to fill your own cup before you can fill somebody else's. And I think that's something that's important. And like what you're saying, like, like nobody is teaching people how to be humans and like how to use their emotions and use their thinking and to think positive and build with teams and like do all this cool stuff that humans do. You know what I mean? Like, all of that's missing. You know, I feel like we're just destined to figure out. I wouldn't say figure out, but we're just destined to like experiment with all of life until, I mean, this thing ends. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. You know, it's just kind of like a train wreck. You know, like I can't stop staring at it. Like, what's gonna happen here? You know what I mean? But I don't know. I feel like the most important thing to me is like anything. Like, people fail, systems don't. Like, how can we figure this out? Like, how can we put this together where people understand the importance of themselves, the importance of others, like to respect themselves, to respect other people, to communicate and understand with each other, to get yourself right before you try to get with somebody else. And like, nobody wants to freaking build a bear. Like, nobody's like, yo, like, let me get with you and like, you're my build a bear. I'm gonna mold you the way you want. And then 5 years later, you're like, you just changed, you know, who you wanted. Like, I'm not even myself, and now we hate each other, and like all this craziness. Like, you got to get yourself together first. You know, like I feel like if that would be like the biggest step in the world, that if people would just love themselves and figure themselves out before they ventured out to other people, I think we'd be a lot further ahead. I don't know.
Yeah. What do you say?
Definitely, everything starts with yourself. Being loyal to yourself, being faithful with yourself is the most important task, and that comes from self-acceptance. Because by trying to accept too much the opinion of everyone, we start being unfaithful to ourselves. And almost all the successful people, like Steve Jobs, he has a famous Stanford speech, and he says, "Listen to your inner voice. It already knows what you really want, and don't settle until you find it and you stick to it." So everyone has an inner voice that really leads you towards what you really want to follow in your life. And you cannot settle down with someone when you're not sure, when you're not sure even on what you want in life. So if you don't figure yourself out, you cannot decide who's gonna join you in that ride. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it totally does. But I got something. I want to turn this around a little bit, you guys. Like, what is your guys' thoughts on? Why are you looking all scared over there? what's your thought on Valentine's Day? Like, what do you guys think about Valentine's Day? Like, what's your thoughts on it?
I think Valentine's Day, like all holidays, are just made up for financial profit.
But you can have a fun night.
But it's fun to celebrate, I guess. Yeah. Like, it's, you know. Do you want my logical answer or my emotional answer? I'm not going to turn down a day that's been deemed to give me gifts. Or
Oh, that's awesome. No, I feel the same way, and I think that I don't know. One side of me is like, it's a really it's kind of like a douche day. Like, it's kind of like this is ridiculous day. You know what I mean? Like, this is the day that all the guys that treat their girls like crap all year, this is their way to make up for one day and give them some gifts. And that's the same day that the girl finally, like, she's been waiting all year. Like, it's almost Valentine's Day. I'm gonna get some appreciation. And then February 15th, they're like both back in their prison for another 364 days. and then they're gonna come back. You know, like every day's Valentine's Day, every day's Christmas, every day's Easter, like every
Absolutely.
day's my birthday. You know, like it ain't my birthday, but I got my name on the cake, man. Like I'm here, like I'm ready to roll. You know, like I feel like every day should be no different than any other. Like you shouldn't respect somebody more.
Every day should be love day.
Yeah.
Every day should be love day.
Every day should be love day. I dig it. I dig it. we'd be a lot further along if we did.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
should start that. How do we start that? Like somebody started Valentine's Day. Somebody started one of these things. Like how do we start Love Day? Like all around the world. Like not just in not just
you
like,
got $1 billion to tell Zuckerberg what to do with these algorithms? We'll get it done. Give me my Manny chat bots, baby.
I mean, we could probably hire like a hacker to like throw a mass like ad out to everybody.
I think, it comes full circle too. And I just want to cue, we got 5 minutes left. This has been great, by the way. Thank you so much. But looking at, the love languages, like how do we communicate love? And there's a great book, The 5 Love Languages, that looks at how we show love, how we like to receive love. And it's a great thing to check out. So for today, it being Valentine's Day and starting every day being a love day, I think it's who we surround ourselves with in our inner circle. And going back to, mindset and intention and sex and how ultimately that all cultivates in love, wrapping up our amazing talk here is surrounding ourselves with the people that fill us up like that, and being intention in our honesty and our actions every day, every second as best we can. And if we're human and we mess up, just take ownership of that and be like, I'm sorry. Or in the sex arena, I love a guy that I go out on a date with. It's just like, I'm not looking for a relationship. I just want to have sex. I'm like, cool. Thank you. Thanks for that. You're honest. Cool. That's not what I'm looking for. So best of luck to you, or vice versa. I love a guy, you go out on a date and he's like, I want to get married. I mean, you find that a lot of times with older guys, like, I really want to find a significant other. And if we don't click in the first couple dates, I'm out. So I think if you just have integrity and honesty in what you're doing and what your actions are every day, you'll have that love day every single 365 days of the year.
I completely agree with it. I think that's the most amazing thing ever. Like everybody wants to maybe like there's so many masks that people wear. Like nobody's like being transparent or real. Like they're scared to speak their truth. So like in that moment, like. You don't even know who you're talking to, and I think you nailed all of it with what you just said because, like, just tell me what you want, man. Like, put it on the table. Like, I'm a cut and dry kind of guy, you know what I mean? Like, slap it on the table, man, and let's see what we're working with here. It's either going to be we're going to go or it's a no. Like, we'll figure it out, I think, and sticking together, finding your people and expanding that is what we need to do. The more that we can expand. I mean, with social media and what we have here, like, I don't think that's something that we can't conquer in a few months. You know what I mean? Like, just keep pushing that idea, keep pushing that campaign, and running with it. And that's my thoughts on it. And
you, Professor Al, Dr. Kubi?
Well, like I said, it's being loyal to yourself, being authentic. And surrounding yourself with people that gets the best version of yourself, that you be the best version of yourself. And most of problems in life are people's problem. People are the source of joy or pain in your life. But it's your decision who you let in your life. So you can let in the people that is all about drama, toxic ones, or the ones that accept you when you're authentic, when you are your true self. So that's important because that's loving yourself, not being fake, just being what you really want and what you truly are. And if you start with that, even if some people reject you, you will be happier in the long term and you will feel this fulfillment because you're being loyal to you.
I dig it.
Nice. So in the last couple minutes, my friend JC, do you want to wrap it up? What do you want to convey in terms of today, Valentine's Day, coming to a close, talking about love and sex and mindset? Bring it home, brother.
All right. Honestly, like love and sex, like it's not even like on my agenda all the time. You know, it's kind of something that I don't talk about. So like this was a good night of growth. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's part of who we are. You know, like it's not that I don't talk about it. It's just something that there's certain, you know, areas, arenas, and people where it needs to be talked about. But I just think that like it's really like the running engine of like who we are, you know, like
she's just a girl and she's on fire, hotter than a fantasy, lonely like a highway. She's living in a world and it's on fire.